With the hustle and bustle of life, when is the last time you really paid attention to the nature out your front door or in your backyard? Conservation biologist and author Thor Hanson is the author of this new book, Close to Home, which highlights how we all live on nature's doorstep, but often overlook it. And Thor joins me now. Welcome to New Day.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, so this whole book started, I understand, with you discovering something surprising in your own backyard. So please explain.
Well, it started with a thump. And it's a thump that we all hate to hear, but it was the sound of a bird hitting the window of the little shack that I use for an office in our backyard. So I rushed outside, and here was this beautiful hermit thrush dead in the grass, and I felt horrible, but I also felt a little embarrassed because hermit thrushes are famous in biology and in literature. And here I am, a biologist writing about nature, and I didn't know this bird was in the yard. Biologists are fascinated by the way these thrushes sing two notes at the same time.
Wow.
And they do so in precise harmonic intervals that are very similar to the minor chords used in human music. So their song is so haunting and beautiful that it's become a powerful metaphor in literature. You know, everyone from Walt Whitman to T.S. Eliot has been using and referring to this song for, all of this time. And so I thought, my gosh, if I didn't know this bird that's so famous in both of my trades was in the yard, what else am I missing out here? And that led to this book project.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And yeah, there's so much that I feel like we are discovering every day with nature and backyards and beyond. So talk about the BioScan project too that happened and why it interests you so much.
Well, BioScan is a wonderful example of how there's nature that we don't know about everywhere, even in some of the most urban places on the planet. You might think you need to be in a rural area with a big yard and a bunch of nature all around to see something new or interesting, but not the case. BioScan took place in Los Angeles, and it started with the curator of insects at the Natural History Museum there at a luncheon, bragging that he could find a new species anywhere. And one of the trustees of the museum took him up on the challenge, and she said, if you can find one in my backyard, I'll throw this big fundraiser dinner party in celebration. And to add a little pressure, she went ahead and scheduled the party. So he rushed out and he put up a trap. And by gosh, the first thing he pulled out of that trap was a fly that no one had ever seen before.
Oh my gosh.
So they started BioScan to explore the backyards of Los Angeles, and they've already found more than 50 species of flies that are new to science.
That is so incredible. And you also wanted to highlight bird culture, right, in the suburbs of Sydney. So talk to me about what you wanted to highlight here.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, but you might think you have to go to the wilderness to discover important things in biology. But this took place in backyards and in driveways in Australia, in Sydney, where these parrots, big white parrots with a floppy yellow crest on their heads, the sulfur-crested cockatoos, had learned to open people's garbage cans and get at the garbage. And what the researchers realized, but this had just begun in a few neighborhoods, so they partnered with all of these homeowners and residents of various neighborhoods to watch these parrots, and they found that the parrots were teaching one another. And
that's cool.
They could see this behavior spread all across Greater Sydney as they taught one another different ways to open garbage cans in different neighborhoods, and the scientists concluded that these parrots were developing, if you will, a culture in that it varied by geography in different populations, and it was spreading like wildfire. And then the homeowners, of course, tried to counter this.
Do everything.
Yeah, and so you've got this sort of almost like an arms race between the homeowners and the parrots all across Sydney as they struggle over the fate of their garbage.
Oh, okay. And I want to get to skunks impacting cancer research. What?
Oh, well, this is amazing. But again, it's another backyard example of a partnership between residents and scientists. Because there were these chemists at the University of Oklahoma who wanted to get more compounds being made in the soil. Fungi that live in the soil are master chemists, and they make all sorts of things that we don't know about. But they couldn't travel the country, digging around in different soils. They didn't have the funding, so they just put the word out, and people started donating soil from their yards. A couple of tablespoons, not much. And a woman from up in Alaska did this, she heard about it and sent in her soil. And there was a fungus in there making all sorts of compounds that the chemists were fascinated by. One of them turned out to be a very promising new drug that's under research now for breast cancer.
Wow.
And in the same sample, the fungus was also making this compound that would absolutely negate any smell you threw at it. They tried skunk odor, they tried wolf urine, which you didn't know you could order on the internet, but apparently you can. And it just absolutely made those odors disappear. So that has now been licensed by a company in the pet industry, and it will go into kitty litter.
Oh my gosh, so fascinating. I could talk to you forever. I can feel the passion. It's so exciting. I feel like this book is for anyone that's interested in any of these topics and beyond. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure.